Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive all about how AI is changing the world of photography.
Yeah, it's really incredible. We've got some fascinating articles here, some focusing on AI as like a creative tool, and others that dive into how it's being integrated directly into cameras.
And it really begs the question, are all these AI automations actually that photographers want or need?
It's a question worth asking for sure,
Hmm.
because on one hand, AI is opening up some wild creative possibilities. Like you've got these tools that blend colors and styles in ways we could never imagine before creating these surreal scenes.
Yeah, I was reading about that. It's mind-blowing. You can have objects floating in possible landscapes, you name it. It makes you wonder, where's the line between photography and digital art?
Right, and that's just one example. Think about AI and cameras now. You point your camera at a landscape, a concert, and it just knows the perfect settings. No more fiddling with dials.
That sounds amazing, especially for
Yeah.
someone like me who's well, let's just say less experienced, but isn't part of the fun of photography, that learning process, figuring out the settings.
It is for many people, and that's where this debate gets interesting, right? AI might be taking over some of that skill and artistry. Take AI-powered autofocus. It can track faces' eyes, even predict movement for those tack-sharp action shots.
That's incredible. But if the camera's doing all the work, are we as photographers losing something? Like, will we ever develop that intuition for timing for the perfect moment?
You know, that's a discussion that's heating up. Some photographers are all in on these AI features, while others worry it's a crutch.
I see it like driving an automatic versus a stick shift. Sometimes you want that control, even if it's more challenging.
Perfect analogy. And like cars, there's no right answer. It comes down to what each photographer values.
Hmm.
But we need to be having this conversation.
Absolutely. It's not just about convenience. It's about what we might be sacrificing for it.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've talked AI as this creative partner, this in-camera assistant. Let's get specific. What are some examples of this AI integration that we should be aware of?
Well, let's start with AI scene recognition. It's becoming really common in cameras. It
Yeah.
essentially allows your camera to understand what it's looking at.
Right, I've heard of that. But how does it actually work? Does it magically know if it's a portrait or a landscape?
It uses something called a convolutional neural network, which analyzes the image, breaks it down into colors, shapes, textures. Then it compares these patterns to a massive database of images.
So it's like the camera's doing a super fast visual Google search.
Exactly. Based on that analysis, it adjusts things like exposure, white balance, even the shooting mode. So in a
Yeah.
dimly lit concert, it boosts ISO, lowers shutter speed, and you get the shot without the blur.
Okay, that makes sense, and it sounds helpful. But how does this AI scene recognition impact the artistic side? Isn't photography also about personal style and interpretation?
And that's where the debate gets interesting. Some argue that while AI can technically improve a photo, it can also lead to a lack of personal vision.
Like everyone's photo's starting to look the same.
Precisely. And that raises a bigger question. Do we want our cameras making all the artistic choices for us? Or is there value in that human touch, that personal expression?
It's a question we're thinking about because who's really doing the communicating here? Us or the algorithms?
I think it comes down to, what are we really trying to achieve with photography? If it's just about capturing technically perfect images, then AI is amazing. But if we're after something more, something that reflects our own unique vision, then the role of AI gets a lot more complicated.
Right. It's like that difference between just a snapshot and, a true work of art.
Hmm.
One is just capturing the moment. The other has meaning and intention behind it. And that makes me think about AI's role in post-processing.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole other world. We've all seen those AI beauty filters on social media, smoothing wrinkles, enlarging eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's fun to play around with them, but I do get a little uneasy about what it does for body image and self-esteem. Like we're always seeing these impossible beauty standards.
And it goes beyond that. There are tools that can completely change bodies, faces, even manipulate emotions in pictures. It's getting harder to tell what's real, what's been changed digitally.
So it's not just about making people look better, it's distorting reality. And that brings up ethical questions. How do we use AI responsibly in post-processing? How do we protect ourselves from manipulation?
That's the million-dollar question. We need to develop like a healthy skepticism when we're looking at images. We can't just assume everything we see is real.
It's like we need to become visual detectives, always on the lookout for signs of manipulation.
Exactly. And it's not just about spotting fakes. We also have to think about the bigger impact of AI post-processing on our visual culture as a whole.
Like how it's changing our perceptions of beauty, of what's real.
Right. If we're constantly seeing these AI-perfected images, will we lose sight of what's natural, what's authentic? Will we get kind of visually exhausted and crave even more extreme, unrealistic imagery?
That's a fascinating and kind of disturbing thought. Like we're heading into this world of visual hyperreality where truth and fiction are blurred.
And that brings us back to our main question. Are these AI automations in photography really what we want? Do they make things better or worse? Do they give us power or take it away?
These are tough questions, and I don't think the answers are easy. But it's so important that we're asking them, that we're talking about AI and how it's shaping how we see the world.
Definitely. And we can't forget AI is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It all comes down to us, the humans who create and use it.
So it's not about hating on AI or rejecting it. It's about being aware, intentional, and thoughtful in how we use it.
That's it. And that leads me to something we haven't touched on much, the way AI can actually empower photographers.
Oh, right. We've been focusing on the
Yeah.
negatives. But there's another side to this. Tell me more about how AI can be empowering.
Well, think about AI tools that can help you achieve your creative vision in ways you couldn't before. Tools that understand your style, suggest compositions, even generate variations on your ideas.
So it's like having a digital assistant that gets your artistic style and helps you push your creative boundaries.
Exactly. And it's not just about making things easier or faster. It's about opening up completely new creative possibilities.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like AI becomes a partner in creation, helping us overcome our limitations and achieve things we never could alone.
I think that's a really powerful way to look at it.
Hmm.
It shows how AI can improve our technical skills, but also deepen our artistic understanding and make our creativity even bigger.
That's a much more positive perspective. It's like AI isn't just a threat to photography, but it can help it grow and evolve.
I think so. It reminds us that humans and technology have a complex relationship. It's not just good or bad. It's this mix of opportunities and challenges.
And as we go into this unknown territory, we need to stay open-minded, but also critical and curious about what the future holds. So we've talked about the potential downsides, like, losing some of that hands-on control and the ethical questions around AI doing all the editing. But you've also talked about how AI could help us be more creative. What do you see happening with all of this in the future?
Well, if what we've seen so far is any indication, AI is just going to get more and more integrated into photography. We'll see things get even better with AI cameras and editing tools, but it's also going to get a lot more mind-bending.
Mind-bending. Tell me more.
Well, imagine AI that can actually interpret the emotions behind an image. Like cameras that can sense your mood and adjust settings, composition, even suggest subjects to capture that feeling.
So cameras will basically be able to read our emotions. That sounds like sci-fi.
It might sound crazy, but it's being researched. And it could completely change photography from just capturing what we see to expressing how we feel.
Wow, it's like going beyond just taking pictures and moving into capturing our inner world, our thoughts and feelings.
Exactly. And technically, AI will keep blurring the line between photography and digital art. Think about editing tools that understand your style and help you improve composition color, even add elements based on what you like.
It's like having a personal AI art director.
Exactly. And all this won't just be for the pros. AI can make photography easier for everyone, no matter their skill level or even physical abilities. Imagine tools that help visually impaired photographers or those with limited mobility to create amazing images.
That's incredible. It's really about making photography accessible for everyone so they can express themselves. But with all this amazing stuff, we can't forget about the ethical side of things, right? How do we make sure AI is used responsibly so it doesn't lead to fake images or limit creativity?
It's the big question. As AI gets more powerful, we have to know its limitations and where things could go wrong. We need rules for how it's used. We need to understand the risks and have open conversations about how AI is changing our visual world.
It's almost like we need a new way of looking at images in the age of AI. We need to be able to spot fakes, understand how AI is used to influence us, and be really critical of what we see.
Absolutely. And as photographers, we need to be really intentional with how we use AI, making sure it helps us achieve our vision, not the other way around. It's about finding that balance, embracing the possibilities of AI, but also keeping that human touch that makes photography special.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm feeling both excited and a little cautious. AI could revolutionize photography, but it's up to us to make sure it makes photography better, not worse.
I completely agree. The future of photography really is in our hands, and we need to make smart and responsible choices.
That's a great point to end on. As you all explore AI in photography, stay curious, stay critical, but most importantly, stay creative. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.